Welcome, wanderer of worlds. I have stories to whisk you off to distant places, or to sleep, so sit and listen. If your memory is heavy and weighing down that tireless head of yours, perhaps I should remind you who I am. Yes, very well. My name is Arkisto, and I am the head archivist of the ancient archive, where my people preserve dead planets across the universe, preserving the culture and history and memory of intelligent species that have fallen to the clutches of time. In the ancient archive here, we have snapshot repositories of millions of planets and species that are no longer. We preserve them to honor them, and to perfect them, and to eternalize them. Ah, so you do remember me. It's good to see you again, wanderer. I feared my ramblings the last time we met might have scared you off, but I'm pleased to see they haven't. What's that? You're looking for a tale to ease you into sleep, to lapse you into lulling rest and tickle your subconscious mind while you dream. Well, I must say you've come to the right place. Settle in, wanderer, for tonight I will share with you the story of the very first planet I ever archived. When an intelligent species falls, it's the job of the assigned head archivist to visit the planet, confirm the collapse of the kind, collect samples of all of the relevant flora and fauna, accumulate the remnants of the culture, and organize everything for archiving. In doing this, we cut short the lives of the less advanced local life, which, of course, is a travesty. But my people believe that capturing the essence of the intelligent species, its means of communication, transport, connection, art, and more, serves a purpose that justifies the harsh reality of our process. I advanced to the lofty position of head archivist of the ancient archive 436 years ago. I hadn't spent more than a month planning how I would categorize and organize the hierarchy of the appurtenances pulled from my first assigned planet before I was shucked off of the archive in pursuit of just that. The planet was RRI 8893b of the Reticulum Galaxy, more commonly known as Teotin, although I don't expect the people of your time have much familiarized themselves with the individual planets in a galaxy so far away. Theatin was mostly covered in ice, the slick thickness insulating the planet's core from the harsh and unfiltered light of the three suns around which the frozen hunk flung itself. But there was life on the planet yet, a particularly ingenious species called the Rutin. In scurrying away from their previous planet, they settled on Theatin, and they devised a method of melting the ice cap covering in a single area, just large enough to support their people. Just imagine, if you will, a sphere of unbroken ice tumbling helplessly around three suns, when then come the Rutin people to part the seas of ice and declare a livable space as their home. And so in that wide span of frozen crust, there was a single circular dollop of actual usable land. How did they melt the ice? Oh, that's what is perhaps most intriguing. The core of the planet, like that of so many others, was molten, and the migrants conceived of some massive machinery so large that, from the ground, it seemed to expand out among the stars in some cosmic technological stretch that could tether heat from the core of the planet up to its surface. What's that? Yes, remarkably impressive. In my years of acting as head archivist in the millions of civilizations I reviewed or had a hand in archiving, I've never quite seen anything like it. It was truly a marvel of resourcefulness and ingenuity. On my approach to the planet, all I could focus on was that giant mechanical crane-type thing, and I half expected the rest of the planet to be a testament to invention and enterprise as well. But what I found in that exposed bit of soil and rock among the planet's frozen ice skin was evidence of a species that lived with the land and not on it or off it. Most civilizations I've studied construct homes from hard resources, rock and wood in the more eco-friendly corners of the universe, plastic and other polymer-based materials in the others. But on Theatin, they lived in fungi. That's right, Wanderer. Mushrooms. The Rutin, upon melting that section of ice, had found fungal spores trapped beneath the planet's cap, and they cultivated them and somehow trained them to build supportive structures. Not only were they protective, but they could adapt rather quickly to changing housing needs. So when I landed on this planet, just imagine my surprise to see the largest monument to ground-level manufacturing in the known universe cast among natural housing that reeked of primitive living. A stark contrast, to be sure. As much as I marveled at those fungal homes, though, I'm glad not to have encountered anything like them again. Why? Well, I might not have to tell you that the air inside them was so thick with moisture that you could feel it pressing against the walls of your trachea and then puffing out each individual alveoli with its viscosity. And the wet of the air left me with so much congestion that when the next archiving assignment came up, I was still recovering and clearing out the muck of that air that I had to send another archivist to do the work for me. Not to mention that archiving an entire architectural grouping consisting solely of natural structures prone to rot and decay was a logistical nightmare. Perhaps the most intriguing and original thought I discovered about the Rutin was their means of recording information. Now, the archival process we use is highly accurate, but there is room for error, especially when it comes to unusually organized natural materials that are more prone to degradation. Much of what the Rutin used on a daily basis, apart from that massive surface warming crane, was made from highly degradable materials. There's a chance that our records are not entirely accurate. Such is the risk of an inherently imperfect handoff from living species to all but dead archive. But from what I can glean, the Rutin only ever recorded information in books that contained pressed paper made from fungal spores alone. And the ink was made from the species' own blood. I know, it sounds violent, savage, unnecessary perhaps, but what it seemed to do was ensure that every written word was meaningful, every sentence organized and terse. If a Rutin were primed to record something, a bit of history about the people, a speck of religious musing, a scribbling of some mythical explanation of the fog the species contended with for years after inhabiting the planet, well, that Rutin would make sure those words were worth writing, don't you think? Of course, the use of blood ink also reinforces the idea that one's word is one's bond. Every agreement, every contract, written out in literal blood, binding in a philosophical and physical sense. And every trace of ink, every curve of a pen, and every letter, and every word was traceable back to the single person who cast their pen down on page. I see you smiling, Wanderer. Perhaps you'd make a good archivist yourself. This, my dear friend, is the beauty of preserving the universe. Sure, it's nice to be able to walk the halls of the archive I call home and have, at the flick of a finger or the flutter of some pages, near instant access to a snapshot of how the universe looked at any given moment. But the reason I adore my career, Wanderer, is what I call the digging and bridging. It's what one in my position must do on a daily basis. Dig through what's on the surface of a dead planet and bridge what you find to meaning. It's finding the dots and then connecting them, stringing them along in sense and significance. Some may look at the archivists as a destructive force keen to rip apart a dead species and fling their remnants into leather-bound books and digital drives for long-term storage. Some look at us as opportunists seeking out dying knowledge that we may use to better our own people. Some think of us as obsessors, unable to separate our very meaning from the muck of universal history. Few see us for who we are, Wanderer. We are artists. Our medium just happens to be the decay of time itself. Now let's see. What else can I tell you about the Rutan? Perhaps you'll find their agricultural oddities of interest. As you might imagine, a frozen planet like Bedtime would get awfully cold, even with heat being pumped up from the molten core. The distant breeze would freeze anything growing above the surface of the planet. So the Rutan constructed underground gardens. They called them hot gardens. They somehow excavated large rooms with walls reinforced by the mycelium of their house fungi. They built them around geothermal pockets so natural heat would seep up through the ground and warm, specially pruned fungal beds that could hold the heat and disperse it evenly throughout the garden. The Rutan were so adept at this unique type of farming that they could even adjust the bed thickness to provide different crops with unique ground temperatures. Remarkable, I know. The incessant cold above would fight its way inside without relent, but with mycelium walls, the hyphae could hot patch breaks and fissures in real time, creating an army of a structure active in its own defense, as ingenious as the heat crane, if you ask me. And perhaps what's most interesting is that in just these two examples, you get a sense of who the Rutin were, a people who could engineer their way into or out of every situation, but who respected the natural flow of things enough to know when there was another option. There was a gentleness about the Rutin that I've seen in very few other species. Speaking of gentleness, it is time, once again, Wanderer, for you to succumb to gentle sleep. I must return to my work, for an archivist's job is never really concluded. You may fall asleep right here, friend. The ancient archive is a safe place to rest your head, a good place to snooze provided the distant whir of the reactors and my nearer tinkering aren't a bother. Go ahead, friend. Sleep. When you wake, there will be another story ready to lull you once again. Another world, another memory. But for now, close your eyes.